On the set of A Scanner Darkly, I was trying desperately to get an interview with Winona Ryder.
If it's a rubbish time, we'll do it later.
Yeah.
I've just got to keep coming back to you, haven't I, though, and try and look for that moment.
In addition to the humiliation of having to grovel to Winona, I felt confused. I couldn't resolve the contradictions in the ideas in Linklater's films. But I wasn't alone. The Hollywood A-list had the same problems as me. But that's why they were here. They loved the arty kudos of appearing in something that was difficult to understand. When I eventually pinned Woody Harrelson down, I wasn't sure that he even knew he was acting in an animated feature.
Is there anything particular about playing a cartoon character?
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
Because you're going to be animated. So
yeah, well, to me, I'm real.
Yeah.
So don't confuse me by saying I'm a cartoon character.
And what about the world of ideas that his films sort of inhabit?
There's something very naturalistic in approach, but then it gets kind of tweaked and broadened. And I think there's just a humility and an intelligence about it. You know, intelligence by virtue of the humility of that kind of, like, for lack of a better, you know, phylum, that kind of Zen thing of I don't know, you know, and we don't know type thing.
There's an existential sort of search for something. I don't know what it is, but it has a sad, throbbing resonance. I'm not really good at making points, but I'm good at making it sound like I have a point.
Yeah.
I throw out some words that sound real.
Well, that's like Rick, isn't it?
No, he has a point.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think his point is? And I hate to put you on the spot here, but I've been going through this film and I'm on this journey to try and find out what's the message or messages.
You're right, he doesn't have a message either. Nobody's got a message. This whole can's going down the tubes. But he's good at making you think he's got one.
All right.
Charlatan.
Let's hope Jack was joking. How could I expect Hollywood actors to decipher Linklater for me? Apart from the fact that they seem to be method acting their way through a film about people high on drugs, they weren't paid to be philosophers. But there was a paid philosopher in Austin, and of course, he'd appeared in a Richard Linklater film.
You're a philosophy professor, so in a way you should be able to identify the philosophical trends when you watch a Richard Linklater film.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think epistemology, what we would think of as the field of epistemology, that's a central concern. I think
that's epistemology is like this
theory of knowledge. Yeah, and so that's one of the things.
How do we know what we know?
How do we know what we know? Exactly.
Okay.
So knowledge, a question of knowledge. These are problems that have been with us since, 500 years BC. I mean, there's written texts about this phenomenon from way, way, way back. So it's just a perennial
Like
issue.
which one? Give me one from 5000 BC.
So the Pyrrhonians, Pyrrho.
Who's he?
Pyrrho is a skeptic. He's an ancient skeptic. And he was very concerned about our knowledge of anything. He was very doubtful. He thought that we had to withhold belief on everything. It was never right to believe. You should always take an attitude of sort of, you're not supposed to disbelieve either. You're not supposed to say, oh no, that's not true. You're not supposed to say that is true, and you're not supposed to say that's not true.
The philosophy professor described Linklater not merely as an auteur filmmaker, but as the heir to an ancient tradition of doubting. I felt like I was, well, banging my head against a wall. Ultimately, there seemed little point looking for answers from a philosophy based on questions. But I made one more valiant attempt.
So I'm making this documentary about you, and I've reached a certain point in this documentary film
where you're just baffled. You're wondering why the hell you did this. There's nothing here.
I think
I'm an empty suit.
I started off with a lot of questions, and then I had a lot of doubts. And now I've got some doubts about the doubts.
Yeah.
And what I'm wondering is, If this was a Richard Linklater film, what would happen next?
What would happen next? To you, as a character in a film.
Yeah.
I don't know, you probably wouldn't be that worried about it.
Say that again?
You wouldn't be that worried about it,
Right.
what happened next.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'd reached this
You'd just
end,
be going with it. I don't strive for consistency. I don't think I have one thought pattern necessarily. I know it's your job to kind of, you know, make sense and render comprehensible this thing that isn't that comprehensible.
Yeah.
But I can't do that, and I don't feel it's,
Well,
you know,
my
very
job-
valid, really.
Yeah.
I doubt what you're doing, but I can appreciate your thought process, but I don't think it's that, you know.
Worthwhile.
Yeah, I don't think it's that interesting, really, to me, you know, personally.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that way. I mean, I don't think it's what I'm, you know. I think it's a construct, you know.
What?
It would be a construct.
To bring it all together.
Yeah. That's the human construct that, you know, renders the world comprehensible. It's very important for all of us to proceed through life with at least some iota of, you know,
But do we
that it makes sense. You know, it's important that part of our brain's working. But I mean, if you really break it down, that to me, that's a fiction. That's where fiction lies. You know.
That was all I could take. I'd questioned Linklater's questions, and he'd responded by questioning my questions about his questions. I'd been out-doubted. I'd become just one more doubt in his world of doubts. Perhaps that meant I could appear in one of his movies.